I'm back with mon ami Eric Engels as we get set for game 2 between Montreal and Vegas. And Eric, for the first time in 8 games, we're viewing it from the perspective of Montreal trailing. Of course, they never trailed through those 7 straight wins within a game. How critical do you think a split will be in the Fortress for the Habs?
Well, it's not essential because if we go by what everyone has said throughout the history of Stanley Cup playoffs, you never really are in trouble until you lose on home ice. But I doubt the Canadiens want to put themselves in a position where they force themselves to win both games back at the Bell Center. So this is a very important game for them. They want to steal some momentum away from Vegas on a 5-game winning streak. They're playing great. And this is an opportunity to make that flight home feel a little shorter. It's 5 hours, but it'll feel a lot shorter to get a win at the Fortress.
What kind of adjustments do you anticipate from Dominique Ducharme after seeing a game of play against Vegas?
Well, it's all going to depend on the health of some of his players. And I think Jeff Petry is the guy that everyone's looking at specifically. Will he be able to step in? Will he be able to be effective? We might not find out before warm-up. Jake Evans, could this guy be back after that terrible hit in game 1 of the Winnipeg series that knocked him out? There's a potential for that, and he could provide a huge spark for the Canadiens. No matter who's in, they've got to play a better game. They've got to get the best out of everyone because they have a team game, and it's all based on their depth. And we're going to see what happens there.
Ken Reed's hockey/man crush Josh Anderson was brought into Montreal for a healthy dose of strength and skill. And while we saw that in the regular season, Eric, it hasn't quite been the same in the postseason. What's up with Anderson and his third line?
Yeah, you know what? You look at the net drive that he had in the first period of game 1 of this series, and it really stood out, 1, because it was a great play, but 2, because we haven't seen enough of it. You know, this is what Josh Anderson was meant to bring to the Montreal Canadiens, and they desperately need it against a Vegas team that has a really solid defense. His ability to forecheck, he had 6 hits in the first game. That was great, but he needs to continue to do that. And from a shift-to-shift basis, he could be such an important player for them. And I'm looking at his line mates too. Jesperi Kotkaniemi has done it in spurts in these playoffs. He can be better. Paul Byron could be a lot better. So we'll see what happens with those guys, and everybody else needs to be better around them.
A little more consistency would be a big change and a big benefit to this team. Eric, 2,500 fans felt like 25,000. What will 3,500 fans feel like at the Bell Center?
Well, I think much the same, perhaps a little bit louder, but it's a sign that we're progressing. And I know everybody wants to jump the gun and get a full building back, and they look at what's happening in Vegas and look at the Quebec vaccination rate and the Canadian vaccination rate and the case numbers dropping consistently. We want to keep that positive momentum. And I don't think the Quebec government wanted to provide an exception for just the Bell Center. This is a rule that applies to all public arenas and places like that. So, you know, let's take each gradual step to get to a place where we never have to go backwards again. And hopefully that Bell Center will be fuller and fuller as we move along here.
Amen to that, Eric. I think any fans is better than none, and I'm sure Montreal will appreciate all that support. Thanks so much.
Merci, mon ami.